It was in the Soviet Union itself that Gorbachev faced insuperable problems. He could allow freedom to the satellites, but would he allow it to the Soviet republics? There were 15 separate republics. Most wanted independence. Of the 15 republics of the Soviet Union, the Russian Federation was the largest. Most were responding to Gorbachev's loosening control with demands for national freedom. In the Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, annexed by Stalin in 1940, the demand was total independence. In January 1990, Gorbachev had gone to Vilnius, the capital of Lithuania, to argue that the Soviet Union must not be broken up. Despite Gorbachev, the other Baltic states, Estonia and Latvia, followed Lithuania's lead and also demanded independence. Boris Yeltsin had been Communist Party chief in Moscow. Popular, ambitious, he now used economic discontent to weaken Gorbachev and the Soviet Union. In May 1990, he was chosen parliamentary leader of the Russian Republic. All that winter, Gorbachev was harassed by pressures from each side, for reform and against it. In Moscow, his enemies were preparing to move against him. On August the 18th, a delegation arrived in the Crimea, where Gorbachev was on holiday. They demanded he declare a state of emergency and hand over power. He refused and was put under house arrest. On August the 19th, Moscow awoke to the sound of tanks and the news that Gorbachev was ill. An emergency committee had taken over. In Moscow, confused and concerned, people began to gather at the Russian Parliament building, the White House. As night fell, fears grew that the emergency committee, increasingly desperate, might order an attack on the White House and its defenders.
We were defending a free Russia, and the symbol of free Russia was Yeltsin. We joined hands and waited for the tanks in dead silence.
As the armored vehicles moved among them, 3 young men were killed. At 3 in the morning, Khrushchev called Yeltsin in the White House and admitted defeat.
We were not bloodthirsty. We were not ready to pay any price to hold on to power.
Yeltsin sent a plane to bring Gorbachev back to Moscow. He arrived early on August the 22nd. Far more was changed than Gorbachev realized. Yeltsin was the victor and was now in command. The next day in the Russian parliament, Yeltsin rammed home his victory.
Вот Борис Николаевич мне сейчас, когда уже мы встретились, он дал краткое изложение заседания Кабинета министров, но я его еще не читал.
Humiliated by Yeltsin, and at last realizing that the Communist Party of the Soviet Union's role was finished, Gorbachev resigned as General Secretary. At Minsk, on December the 8th, Russia, Belarus and Ukraine, the 3 Slav states, acted to dissolve the Soviet Union and set up instead a commonwealth of independent states. The Soviet Union was finished, and so was Mikhail Gorbachev. Gorbachev had done as much as anyone to end the Cold War. He called Bush and told him this was his last day in office.
There was a kind of sadness. The finality of it hit me pretty hard, and it was Christmas time and holiday time. And I felt that a friend was hurt, and I wasn't happy about that.
That night, the red flag of the Soviet Union was lowered for the last time. In Washington, Bush made his Christmas broadcast.
For over 40 years, the United States led the West in the struggle against communism and the threat it posed to our most precious values. This struggle shaped the lives of all Americans. It forced all nations to live under the specter of nuclear destruction. That confrontation is now over.